I'm Raymond Go, and this is Nightline. The top stories. Amazon unit to invest 25.5 billion ringgit in Malaysia till 2037. And Dato Sri Najib Arul Kanda to know fate on Friday. Good morning. Decision-making by consensus continues to be the central tenet of Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN. But it does not mean the regional grouping should remain silent over developments in member states that affect the wider region. Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said criticisms on ASEAN particularly focus on two of its principles: decision-making by consensus and non-interference.
Today, ASEAN is a larger and more integrated association. We are now a community with three distinct pillars: political security, economic, and socio-political. The ASEAN community, its focus and scope, is in itself a significant achievement. Yet, while being more integrated, it is an organization that has retained its plurality and sovereignty.
Dato Sri Anwar said this during a talk entitled 30 Years After the Asian Renaissance Strategic Takeaways for ASEAN at the University of Philippines, UP, on Thursday. Earlier, the Prime Minister was conferred an honorary doctorate by the UP's President Angelo A. Jimenez and his Board of Regents MACC Ogo. According to a statement by the university, he was awarded the doctorate for being a scholar and an internationally acclaimed expert on economics, democracy, freedom, governance, Islam, and the need for accountability. Amazon Web Services AWS will invest 25.5 billion ringgit in Malaysia over the next 15 years, with plans to launch the first AWS region in the country. Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the commitment shown by AWS is a vote of confidence by international investors for Malaysia's leadership capabilities in the global digital economy. The Prime Minister said that driven by the new investment from AWS, Malaysia is expected to see a greater increase in digital transformation and digital trust in society. In his speech delivered virtually at the AWS Malaysia Cloud Day on Thursday, Dato Sri Anwar said the investment, which is also the largest international technology investment to date into the country, will in turn lead to greater innovation and investment in Malaysia, propelling the nation to truly be Southeast Asia's data center and digital hub for the region.
Bringing access to world-class AWS infrastructure, advanced technologies, and advanced digital skills programs for Malaysia will unlock opportunities for local businesses to build and expand globally, cultivate a digitally enabled workforce, spur job creation, and deliver long-term economic growth.
The Prime Minister added that the digital economy's contribution to the national gross domestic product, GDP, stood at 23.2% in 2021. He said the government's goal of increasing the digital economy contribution to 25.5% of Malaysia's GDP can be reached well by 2025, made possible through public and private sector investments in digital infrastructure, human capital, business capacities, and improved public service delivery. Meanwhile, AWS noted that Malaysia was chosen as its investment destination to provide support to its existing customers in ramping up their cloud infrastructure.
We chose Malaysia because our customers are telling us that they need and want additional infrastructure to support their needs. We have seen a significant acceleration in the pace of adoption over recent years.
Some of AWS's notable customers in Malaysia include Petronas, Axiata Group, Bank Islam, Celcom Digi, and Paynet. Several public sector organizations are also AWS customers, including Cyber Security Malaysia and Department of Statistics. The Kuala Lumpur High Court will decide on Friday on whether Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak and former One Malaysia Development Berhad, 1MDB Chief Executive Officer Arul Kanda Kandasamy will have to enter their defence or will be acquitted on 1MDB audit tampering case. Justice Muhammad Zaini Mazlan, who has been elevated to the appellate court recently, will announce his decision at 9 a.m. Last year, Arul Kanda took the stand as a witness in the case after the judge allowed the prosecution's application under the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC to call him as a witness in the case. The prosecution closed its case on September 7th after calling 16 witnesses, including former Chief Secretary to the Government, Tan Sri Dr. Ali Hamsa, former Auditor Generals, Tan Sri Amrin Buang and Tan Sri Dr. Madinah Muhammad, former 1MDB Chairman, Tan Sri Muhammad Baki Saleh, and former National Audit Department Audit Director, Saadatul Nafisa Bashir Ahmad. Datuk Sri Najib, who is currently serving a 12-year jail sentence for misappropriating SRC International Sdn Bhad's funds, is charged with using his position to order amendments to the 1MDB final audit report before it was presented to the Public Accounts Committee to avoid any action being taken against him. While Arul Kanda is charged with abetting Datuk Sri Najib in making the amendments to the report to protect the former Prime Minister from being subjected to action. The offence was allegedly committed at the Prime Minister's Department Complex, Federal Government Administrative Centre, Putrajaya, between February 22nd and 26, 2016. Both of them were charged under the MACC Act, which provides for a jail term of up to 20 years and a fine of not less than 5 times the amount of gratification or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher upon conviction. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, has detained Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia, BERSATU Treasurer General, Datuk Muhammad Saleh Bajuri. This was confirmed by MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki. Tan Sri Azam said the remand order was issued by the Kuala Lumpur Magistrates Court on Thursday afternoon. It was learnt that the probe was on matters involving the party accounts. He was detained on Wednesday, and the remand order is until Friday. Muhammad Saleh was appointed BERSATU Treasurer General in 2016. In January, MACC froze several accounts belonging to the party. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim wants sufficient allocations to be channeled to the flood victims in 5 states where more than 30,000 people have been affected. He said he has discussed the matter with his deputy, Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, on the latest situation and types of assistance that can be provided before flying home from the Philippines on Thursday.
Kemudian saya akan bincang dengan TPM Datuk Seri Zahid malam ini sebelum saya berangkat pulang untuk memastikan peruntukan cukup membantu masa-masa banjir.
Datuk Sri Anwar also wanted construction work on the Bailey Bridge at the location where a road collapsed in Felda Selancar in Rompin on Wednesday to be expedited. Apart from that, 2 other roads in Rompin were also closed due to flooding, namely Jalan Ladang Lam Trading, Ladang Block 16, and the route to Felda Redang Segamat in Felda Selancar 3. It was reported that more than 5,000 residents in the area were affected.
Arahan supaya NADMA menggunakan apa saja upaya untuk menyegerakan dan jambatan sementara yang telah putus itu boleh diselesaikan selewat-lewatnya minggu pertama Mac, mana minggu depan, dan mungkin beberapa hari lagi katanya seawal mungkin 4 Mac. Saya ucap terima kasih kerana jentera kita, pasukan bekerja dengan begitu pantas.
In the meantime, Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid said the government has disbursed an immediate allocation of 10 million ringgit for the purchase of essential items needed by flood victims in order to ensure the smooth operations of the flood relief centres in Johor. Dr. Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the floods in Johor have been considered as one of the worst the state has seen since 2006, and the disaster management funds is being channeled through the National Disaster Management Agency NADMA. According to him, the flood situation in Johor and several other states has been worsening as a result of climate change due to global phenomena, but said the government needs to be prepared from now on in order to assist the people.
Kita telah menghantar wang bantuan 10 juta ringgit setakat ini untuk kali ini, ya. Dan saya dimaklumkan oleh Ahli Parlimen Kota Tinggi tadi bahawa selimut, bantal dan tilam tidak cukupi. Pengarah NADMA telah memberitahu DO agar pembelian dilakukan segera dan pembayaran kepada jawatankuasa banjir daerah akan kita lakukan segera sebagai tindakan pantas oleh NADMA bagi menyelesaikan masalah kekurangan.
Dr. Sri Ahmad Zahid was speaking to reporters after visiting flood victims at the SJKC New Kota Temporary Flood Relief Centre in Kota Tinggi. Earlier, he also visited the SK Dato Osman Awang Relief Centre and handed out aid to the victims. In late 2006 and early 2007, Kota Tinggi was the hardest hit district in Johor, the worst floods in the state in over 50 years. The number of flood victims in Johor, Pahang, Negeri Sembilan and Melaka continues to increase, while Sarawak remains unchanged on Thursday night. As of 10 p.m., the total number of evacuees in all 5 states stood at 33,043, an increase of 13,664 people compared to Wednesday. According to the Info Bencana JKM portal, the number of evacuees in Johor rose to 30,031 people from 26,633 people at 2 p.m., housed in 214 relief centres. In Pahang, the number of flood evacuees also increased to 1,819 victims in 28 relief centres compared to 1,373 people in the afternoon. In Negeri Sembilan, the number of victims increased to 1,070, with 12 relief centres opened in Tampin and Jempol. The number of victims in Melaka rose to 98 victims, housed in 4 relief centres in Jasin and Alor Gajah. As for Sarawak, the number of victims remained unchanged at 25 victims, and all of them were housed in Dewan Dr. Jonical Rayong Relief Centre in Sri Aman. Meanwhile, 3 more lives have fallen victim to the floods, with 2 deaths reported in Johor and 1 in Pahang. In Johor, the 2 fatalities involved 2 senior citizens who were neighbours at Jalan Kwangsai in Cha'ah Segamat. The 2 victims have been identified as 78-year-old Lee Amo Yi and Tan Siu Ke, aged 74, who were found trapped inside their respective homes at 11 a.m. on Thursday. According to Segamat District Police Chief Superintendent Ahmad Zamri Marinsa, the flood water had reached the roof level of the victims' residences, and they could not escape to safety in time as the water rose quickly. The victims' bodies have been sent to Segamat Hospital for a post-mortem, and the case has been classified as sudden death. In Pahang, a 10-year-old boy who was reported missing in Sungai Pasir, Kampung Sri Makmur in Chini, Pekan on Wednesday, was found drowned on Thursday afternoon. His body was discovered by divers at around 12:10 p.m., about 50 meters from the location where he was last seen. The victim's body was then handed over to the police and sent to Pekan Hospital for post-mortem. The boy was reported missing a day prior after he reportedly slipped along the bank of a flooded palm oil field before being swept away by the current.
Born and raised in the Pearl of the Orient, he served in a multinational corporation. The former student of Bukit Mertajam High School is also an author. In 2012, he was named as a young global leader of the Geneva-based World Economic Forum.
Hi, join me, Stephen Sim, as I share my views on the 2023 budget on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
8 candidates are in the running for the 3 vice president posts in the ongoing UMNO elections. 2 of them are incumbents, Datuk Sri Muhammad Khalid Nordin, who is also Higher Education Minister, and Padang Terap MP Datuk Sri Madzir Khalid. Their candidacy was announced in a ceremony at a hotel in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday night, which was also attended by UMNO President Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and his deputy Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan. 3 other candidates are Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Sri Azalina Othman Said, Kepala Batas MP, Datuk Sri Rizal Merican Naina Merican, and UMNO Supreme Council member, Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani. Also contesting are Pahang Menteri Besar, Datuk Sri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail, former Johor Menteri Besar, Datuk Sri Hasni Muhammad, and Muhammad Yusof Musa Jamaluddin, a member from the party's Iskandar Putri division. The government is studying a Bank Negara Malaysia BNM proposal on the implementation of living wage in the country. Human Resources Minister V. Sivakumar told the Dewan Rakyat that the BNM 2017 annual report had proposed a living wage rate of 2,700 ringgit for an unmarried adult in urban areas, 4,500 ringgit for a couple without children, and 6,500 ringgit for a couple with 2 children. Sivakumar stated that a progressive wage model needed a more detailed study that is in line with the current economic and labour conditions in Malaysia.
Sehubungan itu, kerajaan perlu mengkaji secara teliti dan mengenal pasti model yang paling sesuai untuk negara kita.
He said this in his response to a supplementary question from Pendang Member of Parliament, MP Datuk Awang Hashim, on whether the government would consider implementing proposals on the progressive wage model. Sivakumar added that from May to December 2022, the Peninsular Malaysia Manpower Department had conducted 17,564 statutory inspections on employers regarding the implementation of the minimum wage order. Of this number, 2,448 compliance recommendations had been issued for violation of the order. He said this when replying to a supplementary question from Goping MP Tan Kah Hing, who asked about the extent of field monitoring and enforcement done by the ministry and the action taken against those who violated the order. Vietnam Parliament elects Van Tung as new president. This and more from the Foreign Front when Nightline comes back. Vietnam's National Assembly on Thursday elected Van Tung as the country's new president in a reshuffle of the country's top leadership amid a sweeping anti-graft campaign. In an extraordinary session, lawmakers confirmed 52-year-old Tung after the ruling Communist Party nominated him on Wednesday as president, a largely ceremonial role, but one of the top 4 political positions in the Southeast Asian nation. The appointment of Theng comes during a period of political upheaval in Vietnam, where the all-powerful Communist Party's anti-graft purge and factional fighting have seen several ministers fired. It is understood that a total of 487 out of 488 deputies present at the National Assembly voted for Theng. The election follows the sudden dismissal in January of his predecessor, Nguyen Xuan Phuc, who was blamed by the party for violations and wrongdoings by officials under his control. 4 people have been killed and 8 injured after a Russian strike reduced a 5-story building to rubble in the city of Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine, the latest in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Rescue workers were digging through the rubble of the building, rescuing 11 people so far, as 5 others, including a child, remain missing. 7 of those rescued were being treated in hospitals and 3 were in serious condition. President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the attack in a Facebook post, saying Ukraine would drive out the Russian forces who invaded Ukraine in February last year. In the years since Russia invaded Ukraine, at least 8,000 civilians have been killed, with nearly 13,300 injured. In the U.S., a man was arrested and charged with attempting to place an explosive or incendiary device on an aircraft after his bag triggered an alarm at an airport in Pennsylvania. According to authorities, the suspect, identified as Mark Muffley, checked in for an Allegiant Air Flight 201 at Lehigh Valley International Airport. The U.S. Transportation Security Administration said one of its officials located a suspicious item inside the suitcase that appeared to be a live explosive device. The bag triggered an alarm, and officials found what they described as a circular compound hidden in the lining of the baggage, with 2 fuses and powder concealed in wax paper and plastic wrap. The suspect, however, left the airport after being called to the security desk, but was later arrested at his home. Still... Super League. 2 matches were played Thursday night. Pahang beat Kelantan 4-1, while Selangor thrashed Super League debutants Kuching City 5-0 for their 2nd straight win. The Cats kicked off their Super League campaign with a 2-1 win over Kelantan in Kota Baru last week, but were given a reality check by the Red Giants, who dominated from start to finish. Jordanian midfielder Noor Al-Rawabdeh opened the scoring in the 4th minute before Colombian hitman Aaron Del Val doubled the lead 5 minutes later. Al-Rawabdeh bagged his brace 3 minutes after the restart, and skipper Brendan Gunn added the visitors' 4th in the 65th minute. Substitute Daniel Asri put the cherry on the cake for the Klang Valley outfit with his goal in the 73rd minute. After this breather, MAHB suspends KLIA Aero train services until further notice. Welcome back. Malaysia Airports Holdings Berhad MAHB will be suspending its Aero train services, which runs between KLIA's terminals due to safety reasons. The statement came after MAHB issued an apology to passengers who had to walk from KLIA's main terminal building to the satellite building after an Aero train halted midway on the tracks on Wednesday.
Today, I categorically want to state that we do not want to have our passengers go through this again. In the interest of the passenger safety, the management of Malaysia Airports is taking a decisive move to suspend the KLIA Aero train service until further notice.
The 25-year-old train experienced a breakdown on Wednesday due to severe mechanical and technical failures that caused some 114 passengers to be stranded midway between KLIA's main terminal building to the satellite building. MAHB assured travellers that they would still be able to move speedily between terminals using the shuttle buses that will run round the clock for the duration of the suspension. Central Greek town doused each other with coloured flour on Monday as part of an old carnival tradition for the Clean Monday event. Let's take a look as locals wear goggles and disposable paint suits to protect themselves from the sticky flour wafting through the air as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Raymond. Thank you for your company and make sure you stay safe and have a great day ahead.